Welcome back. We like to stand up for the little guys on this show, and today that means literally standing up for little guys against Hugh Grant. First, he took the sole role as an Oompa Loompa in the new Wonka movie, depriving dwarf actors of their chance at a coveted role. And he has had the audacity to whine about it, moaning about everything, about the facial cameras used by animators. It's like a crown of thorns, he wailed. Very uncomfortable. I made a big fuss about it. I couldn't have hated the whole thing more. I slightly hate making films, but I have lots of children and need money. Meanwhile, he said he's too old and fat and ugly to star in romantic comedies, which is actually the first time he and I have ever agreed about anything he's ever said. But returning to the show now is Dylan Postl, who's also known by his wrestling ring name, Hornswoggle. Dylan, great to have you back on Uncensored. I thought about you immediately. I saw Hugh Grant moaning about the role that he played as an Oompa Loompa, because not only did he take a role that should have been for an actor like you, but he then complained about it. What was your reaction?
I fully don't understand why he's complaining about it. He knew what he was getting into when he accepted the role. He obviously knew. So if there was any thought in his mind that there would be backlash or whatnot, even himself feeling that way, why take the role in the first place? Whether it's the production crew asking him to do the role, he should have then, if there was any question of it, should have not accepted the role.
Right. Now, the president of Little People of America, Mark Povinelli, said the most troubling aspect of the Hugh Grant situation is that, from what I can tell, they have CGI'd him to have the physical attributes of a person with dwarfism, like the larger arms, the shorter hands, so he looks like a person with achondroplasia, just like the Oompa Loompas from the film of the early 70s. They're trying to maintain the physicality of dwarfism, but erase the authenticity of dwarfism, which is troubling. And that's why you go, well, this is like a physical version of blackface. Would you agree with that?
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, what do you think?
I have achondroplasia myself. This is kind of going back to the CGI or the normal size actors in the Seven Dwarves roles, where it's taking roles from the dwarf community, from my community, and giving them to average size actors, when those roles for my community are very few and far between. So when roles like the Oompa Loompa or the Seven Dwarves are really key roles for people like me, it's really a kick in the guts, and it's a hard pill to swallow.
It really is, and of course it comes
to then.
I'm sorry, I was going to say it's very hypocritical because we've seen time and again Hollywood stars standing up and saying only gay actors can play gay roles, only disabled actors can play disabled roles, only trans actors can play trans roles, and so on. It seems like you're the only group who do not have Hollywood's protection in that regard.
That's I just don't understand. Especially now you're spending the extra money on CGI and on edits and all of that, when there are actors such as myself and other dwarves out there that would have loved this role. I'm sure. I would have loved it, obviously. I'm trying to do more acting and more roles, whether it be dwarf roles or normal size roles. So for me, it would have been an absolute dream role. It's all in nowadays how it's viewed, and I understand completely how the Oompa Loompas maybe have been viewed in current day compared to in the past. But it's just, these are roles that were made for people like me.
And what is your message to Hugh Grant? That he couldn't have hated the whole thing more. He said, asked if he liked the final product, not really. Was it fun? Should have been. It wasn't. I hate making films. I just have lots of kids and need the money. He has got lots of kids by lots of women. Probably does need the money. But it just struck me as being just so dismissively cheap of him to do that, knowing the backdrop of the controversy.
He knew what he was getting into when he took the role. That's my whole thing. He knew the character. He knew how it would be viewed, edited, and all that. But he still took it.
Yeah.
That's where I don't really. Obviously, I have zero sympathy for him feeling this way, and it's even more than that. I feel it's a shame that he did take that role, because it could have went to someone of my stature.
Well, not only somebody more appropriate, frankly, but also somebody who would have probably loved the role and celebrated the role and talked about your joy at playing that role in a movie of this size.
It's an absolutely huge movie and an absolutely huge part of the Wonka story and backstory, how they're perceiving it. So for it to go to a person in the dwarf community would have been absolutely enormous.
So are we agreed then, Dylan, that he is Hollywood's biggest Wonka?
I mean, I don't know about that. I know that I would have loved that role.
You know what?
I would,
I'll spare your blushes.
Roles, normal size roles, yeah.
I'm going to call him out. I'm calling him a Hollywood Wonka of gigantic stature, a massive-sized Wonka. Dylan, great to have you back on the show. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.